Hey RC enthusiast, RW down here in the shop. Going to talk about steering angle on the XR10 MOA rock crawler and how you can get the most out of your XR10 axles. I'll show you my setup and what I've got, and you can judge for yourself if I've got it set up right. There's a fair amount to getting a lot of steering out of your XR10. It has a lot of potential, but as it arrives, you know, in the kit form, or if you buy one off of eBay or whatever, if someone hasn't already modified it, you're going to see that there's a little plastic housing here, a little aluminum bar, and a couple of little turnbuckles and little ends, and it limits the amount of steering you can actually get. So the first thing you need to do is take your axle apart, cut off this part, sand it back as far as you can without weakening it, and make and install a regular tie bar. And you want to get rid of all the plastic parts right away. That's just something you got to wrap your mind around. If you're going to build a good axle with good steering, you're going to have to use Vanquish products, Wraith C-hubs, and the old style Wraith knuckles. They slip right on the splined axle housing. They fit perfectly, and they eliminate all the play, and they give you some other options that you don't have with the plastic. One of them is to put a proper arm on for your drag link. Okay. This arm does not need to be 0 Ackerman. This arm just needs to be a certain length and geometry to work properly with a certain length of servo horn. You want to keep your link as direct as possible. You see that the servo horn is oriented directly beside the drag link. That's critical. You want to make a very stout little link. This is Traxxas Revo large ends, 3/16 inch stainless. It's been threaded 1032. These have been tapped 1032. You see how it's installed behind, and there's a reason for that. It's to try and keep as little angle as possible in the geometry, and to allow full swing. You can see I'm slap up against here, and I'm not touching my servo armor. I'm just starting to touch my servo armor. There's another part that touches, and that would be right where the link attaches to the drag arm. And that's going to touch the C-hub right as I max out. Now, to get this much steering, you can't stick with the amount of caster available given the hole that's in the axle housing from axial. You have to drill a hole on the top and bottom, one rib on that spline over, and you have to dial in a ton of caster. It's so much caster that it has some really good effects when you're vertical climbing, and it has some unsettling effects when you're on an extreme side hill and you're trying to peel off of it. So it has an effect. Everything's a balancing act. Now you can get almost this much steering angle with the standard hole at the furthest most position for caster, but you will have to run about 10 millimeters more of shim right here and here to clear your motor, because as you reduce your caster, you're going to bring this bar into your motor, and you're going to need to space it out. because of the degree angle on the C-hubs that puts the steering arm at an angle, you're going to need a longer tie rod, and you're not going to get quite as much steering because you're going to bring it closer and you're going to contact this, and this will be your stop point for how much steering angle you can get. However, what you will get with less caster is more efficient pivoting when you dig and you're trying to pivot and turn. Less caster you have, the more efficient your steering is. The more caster you have when you're on the flat, the less efficient, and the bigger your radius will be. However, when you are going up and you want to grab onto something and lever the vehicle onto it with the sidewall, grab it with the edge and pull the vehicle up onto it, it works extremely well.
Alright.
Just about getting the right angles and all that good stuff.
You know, hey, I've been thinking, maybe when this car can ride on my car. Since my car's body's so big.
Maybe.
Lucky, stop doing that pose, please.
Yep, that is possible. And that's why you often see a lot of caster on comp rigs. To get a reasonable amount of caster when you go one more spline, because you'll get a ridiculous amount, an unusable amount, you need to clock the axle. Clocking is when the axle is tilted forward. And the way you do that is the length difference between the upper and the lower. So if you have a set length for your lower because you want a particular wheelbase, you would make longer uppers to get more angle, or if you had a chassis with multiple points, you just move it forward. What this does is change your center of gravity pretty drastically. To get the amount of caster that I felt would work properly, okay, not so much that I'm laid ridiculously over and the wheels are just going like this, but enough that it would work when I was going up and not too ridiculous when I was on the flat. I needed to raise the motor and tilt the whole axle this way, and the motor now has a lot of clearance. Now this is a good thing for breaking over peaks and for going over little obstacles that would otherwise hang up your motor. It's the rock crawling guys. But it definitely changes the way the vehicle balances this way. See, because you've now made a big heavy lump above the axle center line, and your axle center line is really what's going to determine when your vehicle flips.
Hey, maybe we should go right down at the rock.
Yeah, that's pretty over there. You want to ride down the hill, Anita? The lower your motor is, the more stable you'll be like this. However, the more you'll hang up. It's the same with ride height. But we're just talking about steering angle. But to get steering angle, you're going to have to do some pretty radical things. Side hilling, what happens when you put in a lot of caster is that you introduce a pivot point that really wants to rock you around quickly. So you're trying to peel off and it just wants to make you turtle. With less caster, when you peel off the sidewall, will grab more and spin the vehicle around like that. So, it's a balancing act. Steering can be obtained.